Tempt. Romance audiobooks. A safe place to explore your dreams.
Chapter 1. Reagan. The worst part about digging up a grave wasn't actually the smell. It was the unknown. The obvious expectation is that we'd find a body, of course, but it wasn't that cut and dry. For millennia, other cultures have protected the entombed with a series of curses, tripwires, and other various booby traps. Add in the possibility that you might find a spelled corpse or a really pissed-off vampire, and it equaled a fairly hazardous job. I'd say I was used to it by now, but that was hardly the case. Grave robbing was our family business. It wasn't as bad as it sounded. We weren't digging up bodies at random or disturbing ancient burial grounds. Rubies, pottery, coins, pocket watches, none of that mattered. Items like that were no longer valued as currency in this world. What we were paid to acquire was either sentimental or enchanted, usually the latter. We were merely contractors who dug up the dead. Okay, maybe it was as bad as it sounded, but we did what we needed to do for survival. We lived in an unconventional world, which meant we had unconventional job prospects. That was why we were spending our night digging a hole in a cemetery across the river from our home in the crossroads. The autumn air was crisp, laced with the scent of the rain we'd likely get sometime overnight. For now, only a few clouds floated in the dark sky. A full moon illuminated the graveyard, giving us so much light we didn't even need magic or lanterns. I didn't want to take this as a rush job. Our buyer was eager, and that meant we needed to work quickly. I had a standard rule that I didn't mingle with the dead on a full moon, but when work had been slow and our client was willing to pay handsomely, it was hard to say no. Still, it made me feel uneasy.
"What do you think we're gonna find this time?"
Nog asked, interrupting my train of thought.
"Pile of dusty bones and tattered clothes, or something cool like a zombie?"
My cousin had a very blasé attitude about our line of work, and very little scared him, which wasn't a good thing. At 19, he had too little fear and too much confidence. It was a dangerous combination when he was a latent shifter and didn't have much in the way of strength or power. "Hopefully, we just find the lapel pin we were paid to locate," I answered, pushing my foot on the shovel as I continued to dig. We stood in a hole about 5 feet deep and probably about the same width, and we were almost finished.
"I wonder what it does."
He mused with genuine interest in his voice.
"I can never tell if they want something that was buried 50 years ago because they want it as a family keepsake, or if they want it for some spell."
Honestly, I try not to think about it.
"Why not?"
He'd completely stopped shoveling.
"Aren't you a little curious what people are up to?"
My cousin was the king of asking dumb questions. I try not to think about it because not all witches are good, and those objects could be used for creating wards on people against their will, Nog, I answered quietly. Awkward silence spanned between us. I held no ill will toward any species. I was half shifter and half witch, but I also knew very well what witches were capable of. As far as everyone outside my family knew, I had an intricate tattoo of weaving ancient symbols on my back, but it was far more complicated than that. It was a ward, placed on me the night I was born by a coven of doomsday witches. The very same coven of zealots that had raised my mother and killed her after she'd given birth to me 27 years ago. The magic beneath my skin made me a guardian, destined to protect a darkness within me I wasn't even sure I believed was there. What I did know was that the ward had been passed down for centuries. My mother was a guardian, and her mother before her, and her mother, and each one of them was sacrificed in the transfer when they had a child at 25. Not me. I noped right out of that situation. When I learned I was destined for the same fate, I escaped. I wandered aimlessly for weeks. Then my dad found me. He'd spent a decade trying to track me down, and now he spent his time tracking down a cure, for lack of a better word. My not having a baby only solved half the problem. At some point, I'd die. If there was even a grain of truth to the stories we've been told, there had to be a way to pass on the duties of a guardian to someone else. But I'd be damned if I forced it on anyone. My cousin's eyes shifted toward my back before he quickly looked at me again, then his lips twisted to the side as he fidgeted with his hands.
My bad.
He mumbled.
You know we'll find a way to fix it.
I know. I just want to get this hole dug and be on our way. Angling my shovel slightly, I sprayed him with some dirt. So, chop chop before I cut your pay.
All right. I'm just stretching,
He said, brushing the dirt off his chest. I shook my head. A familiar laugh sounded, announcing my cousin Clara's arrival, late as usual. You do an awful lot of stretching, Nog, she said with a snort. There's a reason Reagan has calluses on her hands and you don't.
Oh, nice of you to finally grace us with your presence, dear sister,
he said, bowing in mock respect and looking up where she stood at the edge of the pit.
Did you get lost or were you busy with your fuckboy flavor of the month?
Stop calling him that. Clara rolled her eyes, flicking a strand of straight black hair over her shoulder. I'm here, aren't I? I made double today by taking a job with Crowley and his crew before coming to this one. Thank you very much.
Now that you're here, do you care to help out? You make 10% from us and you don't do any of the work.
He grumbled. I am helping. Clara plopped down on the ground and leaned against the headstone while she pulled out yarn and crocheted a little doll. I'm a modern-day insurance policy, Nog. You never know when you'll need me.
Insurance? Hardly. Extortion is more like it,
he argued.
We don't even know if there's a spirit in there. We pay you and you just sit around in case.
That's how insurance works, genius. Nog looked at me while he gestured up to his sister.
Do we really need her?
You know we do. 2 weeks ago, a vampire popped out of a coffin and tried to use you as a snag, I said, shoving the blade into the dirt with force. She's worth 10% any day of the week. So stop bitching at her and dig so I can go home for the love of the gods. Home? Clara repeated lightly, changing the course of the conversation the moment she caught my slip-up. It's Saturday. You said you'd be at the pub tonight. Damn it. The truth was, I had a date, but I never liked them knowing about it. They thought Ben and I had broken up months ago, which, in fairness, we had. I just failed to mention when we got back together. We were casual, and I didn't want to make a thing out of it. My cousins meant well, but they butted in, showed up on my dates, had zero filter about their opinions, and frankly, it was embarrassing. Changed my mind? I shrugged, not looking up. I'd like to make it an early night. From the corner of my eye, I saw Nog lean on his shovel, tilting his head.
Nothing else planned?
Don't make eye contact. I wasn't a great liar if I had to look at someone while doing so. Staring at the spot where I was digging, I scooped another mound of dirt. Nope, just tired. Reagan, are you hiding something? Clara asked, putting her crochet down and turning toward me. Are you feeling okay? Is the ward? Oh, hell, I never should have said I was tired. My family constantly worried. No matter how much they tried not to show it, I knew they were anxious about finding a spell or some way to get the ward off me. Sometimes they treated me like I was glass, fearing that any outside force would cause me to shatter. I stopped digging and looked up at my cousin. Poor choice of words, I promise. Nothing has changed with it. I forced a smile. No nightmares? She pressed. No hallucinations or voices? Nope, I would tell you if I did. Wards could supposedly send people on a downward spiral the longer they carried them. Since I'd made it longer than any guardian that came before me, we could only assume it was a matter of time. If I started to experience any madness, I wasn't sure I'd tell Clara exactly, but I'd at least tell my sister. This was another reason I liked being with Ben. He didn't know about all this, so it was never a discussion. I felt like I was normal when we were together, even if I wasn't able to truly be myself. Yeah, would you actually tell me, though? Or would you just tell Sin and have her keep the secret from me? I know how sisters work, she countered. You're not the greatest at asking for help. What is this, a therapy session?
That's not an answer,
Nog added. Now they were teaming up with each other. Typical siblings. I opened my mouth to answer, but a familiar sound echoed in the hole. My attention refocused the moment my shovel thudded against the wooden box. Saved by the dead. Brushing the remaining dirt from the surface, we saw the heart-shaped emblem we'd been told was engraved on top. "Looks like it's the right one," I whispered, feeling for the clasp on the side. The coffin wasn't even open yet, but the scent of death permeated the air. Clara waved her hand in front of her nose and made a slight gagging sound. "I'll never get used to that." Nog inhaled deeply.
Smells like payday if you ask me.
"Ew." I walloped him upside the head. "Have some respect."
I have respect. We all die. This dude isn't using whatever he was buried with, so I respect the wishes of those who pay us, Ray.
I shook my head in disapproval, but it wasn't worth an argument.
You ready, Twinkle Fingers?
Nog taunted, grinning at his sister. Clara winked at him, and I held my hand out for the picture we'd been given, taking another look at the item. We only wanted to do the job once, and we needed to see exactly what we were supposed to be getting. Round-cut moonstone lapel pin, silver, about the size of an old quarter, simple enough. Okay, here we go. 1, 2. I gripped the edge of the lid and pulled it open. Instantly, a blast of power exploded outward. Nog yelped as we were both tossed out of the hole and landed on our backs with a loud thud. 3. I coughed out, rolling over to get up when an animated corpse came flying out after us. I grabbed a shovel, cursing beneath my breath. Nog screamed a high-pitched wail as it went after him, arms open like it wanted to wrap around him in a bear hug. He didn't have a weapon, so all he did was swat at it like he was fending off a swarm of mosquitoes.
Clara, do what you get paid to do.
With a few long strides, I wound up, preparing to use the shovel like a bat. I swung, connected directly with the head like a baseball sitting on a tee. It popped right off, rolling on the ground until it went down the grave we just reopened. The body dropped in an audible clacking of bones, and Clara's laughs suddenly filled the air. It only took a moment for me to put 2 and 2 together. Clara had powerful spirit magic. Though I'd never seen her reanimate a body like this before, it was clearly easy for her, and she'd do just about anything to piss off her brother.
For fuck's sake, you swamp witch. That wasn't funny.
Nog shouted, dusting himself off. She cackled louder, wiggling her fingers. "Twinkle, twinkle, asshat." "I can't believe you," I grumbled. Shaking my head, I threw the shovel to the side and dropped to a knee beside the body. Rolling it over, I found the lapel pin that matched the picture. I removed it carefully and put it in an enchanted pouch. "It was just a bit of fun," Clara argued in defense. "Come on. When have you ever heard Nog scream like that? That was prime B horror movie quality just now. I'm docking your pay for that bullshit." Grabbing my satchel that was leaning up against a gravestone, I pulled it over my head and rested the strap on my shoulder. "Nog," I called, and he glanced in my direction. I tossed him the keys to the truck so he could get himself home. "Get this cleaned up and put the body back." "Nicely."
Wait, you aren't staying?
Shaking my head, I wiped my hands on my jeans and showed him, palms facing out. "You spent most of the night talking. When your calluses look like mine, I'll stick around to help you clean up." He griped, but I outranked him and he knew if he argued, he'd lose. I started walking away, sensing that Clara was close on my heels. "So, what's really up?" she asked casually, keeping pace with me as we made our way to her truck. "You know how I feel about working on a full moon. I just want to get home. Do you sense any danger?" My animal lightly stirred inside me. I sighed. The loose connection between us was hard to read. We both felt uneasy, but not in the way my cousin was suggesting. "You know she doesn't. Otherwise, I wouldn't have left your brother back there by himself." "What exactly is it, then? Yeah, you hate working on full moons, but you've never said the specifics as to why." When we got to her truck, I turned to her and held my hands out for her keys. The corner of her lips tilted down, and she reluctantly gave them to me. "We dig up the dead and piss off spirits in the middle of the night, Clara. Story after story will tell you that nothing good happens on a full moon." She smiled softly. "But look, all that worry for nothing. We're done now, and all is well." I hummed noncommittally. She could be optimistic, but I had a feeling Tonight wasn't going to be any different. Narrator. It was actually worse.
You can listen to the rest of the book in the Tempt Romance audiobooks app, available on the App Store and Google Play. The link to the book is in the description. Discover even more bestsellers and exclusive stories updated weekly, only in Tempt Romance audiobooks.